Hello and welcome to Digital Talk Podcast, the podcast where we share stories with the wider community of how digital technology and telecoms can do good. Join me, Ian Ginn.
And me, Frankie Spagnolo, on our Discovery series as we talk to our guests and find out about themselves, what motivates them, and help celebrate their projects and achievements.
Today's episode is sponsored by IFG Consulting Europe, a leading business growth consultancy representing promising software providers selling to the telecoms, enterprise and mobile markets in Europe. Go to ifgconsultingeurope.com to find out more.
I'm here with my co-host Frankie Spagnolo, and we will be talking today with Steve Statler, who is Chief Marketing Officer at Ambient IoT company Wiliot. In this episode, we want to find out more about Steve, how he got involved with Wiliot, and what drives him. In the second episode, we'll be talking more about Wiliot and their projects. Hi, Frankie.
Hi, Ian. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Frankie, could you just tell us, audience, a little more about Wiliot?
Sure. Well, Wiliot is backed by Verizon and Qualcomm, Samsung, and NTT, which it recently debuted its new visibility platform. This is to the mobile market as a whole, and this actually marks the earliest in our industry example of ambient IoT at scale, which is a really fascinating layer of edge connectivity. And the ambient IoT sector is forecast to scale from about 100 million plus units in 2023, to billions in 2026 as we walk towards the Internet of Senses and the 6G future. And really this sort of batteryless, wafer-thin connectivity modules that allow for this micro-communications is really the biggest disruption in telecommunications since the smartphone.
Yes, it's amazing, isn't it? And I'm sure we'll be interested to hear more from Steve about that. But Frankie, before introducing Steve, did you actually know that he has his own podcast with more than 200 episodes?
I did. The Mr. Beacon Ambient IoT podcast. I mean, as far as experts in this field, we've got the one right here, that's for sure. So let's welcome our guest, Steve Statler.
Frankie, Ian, thanks for the opportunity to chat with you. I can't wait. I love what you're doing here.
So can you tell us a little bit more about your role in Wiliot?
Well, I am now in charge of marketing, but I started off kind of as a general dog's body doing a bit of everything. I was the first person outside of the core R&D team. I joined a few months into the first year. And so I basically, in the early days, did everything other than the core R&D. So some product management, helped with the business development around fundraising, sales, and marketing. And now I'm focused on marketing. But I also have a portfolio of strategic projects, which includes climate sustainability, food safety, and I work with our CTO on helping to do our bit to bootstrap this ambient Internet of Things ecosystem.
Fantastic. How long have you been with the company, did you say? How long's that been, this journey?
Just over 7 years, yeah. Wow. So we're just over 7 years old. 2017 is when the company was founded at the beginning. Back then, I was sort of finding myself having had a few years at Qualcomm. I'd started a couple of companies, one called Cause-Based Solutions, and the other one was really just a consulting company to pay for some of the kind of worthier things that I was working on. And I wrote a book called Beacon Technologies, which is one of the few books, for some reason, it's one of the few books about Bluetooth beacon technology. And when the founders of Wiliot were looking for people to consult with, they found me at a conference, actually at a couple of conferences, and I met the COO at one and the CEO at another one. And basically, they offered me an opportunity to consult with them, which I turned down because I thought they were crazy. I thought this idea of having battery-free Bluetooth was insane. But fortunately, they kind of embarrassed me into, it's a kind of a British thing, but we were supposed to have a meeting. I forgot. I was so embarrassed that I agreed to everything that they asked for, which was basically to start consulting with them. I did. And then I realized, oh my goodness, these guys are geniuses.
Right.
They had pioneered millimeter wave, which is this incredible technology that's now part of 5G. It's one of the things that makes it faster than 4G. And so I went from being very standoffish to being all in, and just feel very fortunate to be part of this team that's doing something which I think can really help a lot of worthy causes, including climate and health and various other things, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Well, Steve, it's interesting to see, when people end up really at the edge of innovation, how they, because this is kind of outside the box for most people. Now, and we find that there's sort of a type of person that can be really innovative. Is this something that you wanted to be as a teenager? Were you an engineer?
Oh, well, I was a bit entrepreneurial. I was like reselling Cadbury's cream eggs in the classroom, buying them in bulk and trying to get my friends to buy them. I got into photography at an early age, built my own darkroom, was trying to take pictures of school events and disastrously trying to sell those, which was a real loss maker. So I'm not sure that I'm really that creative. I do like writing. I like words. I like music. I ran the college radio station, and the chance to hang around with people who really were creative, who were like the gurus of heavy metal or punk at the time, was still a thing. So I like hanging out with people that really are creative. And I basically believe that creativity is kind of a little bit of randomness, some open-mindedness, and the ability to kind of synthesize and see the possibility of something that comes out of that. So maybe in that sense, I am creative, but I'm certainly not as skilled as the people that I hang out with and try and learn from.
So it sounds like you actually had a very diverse background. Is there a philosophy that you live by that has guided these choices as you've gone on this sort of creative seeking path?
Well, I think I'm not religious, but I do believe in the golden rule. And, it's sort of, I don't know whether it's a philosophy, but it just helps me if I'm like, thinking about how I'm going to respond to someone. I try and think, how would I feel being at the other end of that? But I guess a kind of a broader business philosophy is this cause-based solutions thing. It's not the only way, but I do believe that if you can find a way of aligning the people, profit, and planet thing, then good things will come out of that. That marketing is tremendously expensive to buy advertising. Buy your way into people's minds is expensive. So why not try and find a way of doing good? And I'm 62, so I'm sort of facing mortality and thinking about how do I want to spend my time? And I feel like if you can offer people a way of doing what they have to do, but feeling like they've improved the world, then you'll probably get a little bit more attention and a little more enthusiasm, a bit more effort. And so I've been drawn to opportunities to do that, to bring a cause together with a technology or a product.
Man after my own heart.
And your educational background, if you're in marketing now, but were you engineering? I mean, you went through in your schooling, you were talking about all sorts of sort of pockets of work that you did, and entrepreneurial streak for sure is what I hear from that. People who sell eggs in school. That's definitely, that's thinking that's not what you're taught at school to sell cream eggs, right? That must have come from somewhere else.
Right. I am dyslexic, so I kind of have that as a strength and a weakness. So I grew up in the British school system like you, Ian, and so my first academic achievement was failing the 11 plus, which was this exam that it was a bit like the sorting hat in Harry Potter. Yes. And I got kind of put in with the people that with lower academic abilities, which actually turned out great because I started off as a secondary modern, ended up as a comprehensive, which is basically kind of a mixture of all sorts of people, which was really good. And because I, probably thanks to my parents, had a decent vocabulary despite a kind of remedial IQ. I got given all sorts of responsibilities. I was like the house captain, the head boy, and that gave me the kind of leadership experience that completely distracted me from my A-levels, which I did horribly at. And so I ended up going to a polytechnic, which is basically something below a proper university. And I wasn't able to follow my original passion, which was psychology, which you needed to have lots of really good A-levels for. So I ended up pursuing my other passion, which was computer science. And it turned out that Hatfield Polytechnic, which is where I went to, had the most amazing degree. And I learned a lot and got this amazing foundation. And because I was doing the radio station and all of the kind of the schoolboy leadership stuff, I ended up getting a great job at the end of it with a marvelous consulting company. And I was rubbing shoulders with people that went to Oxford and Cambridge, and I went to a comprehensive and Hatfield Poly. So it all worked out okay in the end.
It's really what you make of it, isn't it? It's amazing, especially when you have any sort of learning disability or neurodiversity, what a challenge it can be to get through that phase in life and feel like you can be in a corporate kind of role. And so it's good to see the success of that and that being something that has really served you well. Is there anything from your childhood that was a hobby or an activity that maybe aided in your ability to make that transition or that might surprise our listeners?
Oh, well, I mean, I was, one of the things that really influenced me early on was going to see 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's kind of this movie that made this huge impression on me. And, that's the one where Hal, the computer, basically tries to kill all of the other people because, the mission is to this exploratory mission and the human beings are getting in the way of that. So that kind of influenced me. And so when Clive Sinclair back in the late 70s came up with the Sinclair ZX80, I was on it. I sold my Lego set and I bought what was one of the first computers that was affordable to people.
Household computer.
And it had, so it was one of these first bits of technology that really made an influence on me. And you had to plug it into a TV set. It had 1K of memory, 1 kilobyte of memory. And I was just in love with this thing, which, really tickled my imagination. And a long way from Hal, we're getting a lot closer to that, of course. And let's hope that ChatGPT doesn't try and kill us in the same way that Hal did. I'm actually not terribly optimistic about that, but I don't think there's anything we can do about it. So let's enjoy the ride whilst we can.
Well, I think that brings us down a little bit, but it's probably a perfect chance to ask you this question about AI and its effect on society and really where you see that today, where your fear or where you see the risks are in that, and if there really is a difference that it's made to your life.
Yeah, I grew up in the era of Monty Python, always look on the bright side. And so I think we have to do what we can to do to keep it safe. I, like you, am fascinated by ChatGPT and Perplexity. I really like because of all of the references that it gives. This sort of tends to lie a bit less. But I treat AI like another person in the team. And in the same way as if someone suggests doing something or comes up with a fact off the top of their head, I don't just accept that as gospel. I test it and verify. And so I find AI as an invaluable tool to creativity, to brainstorming, to another opinion on things that I've done. I did an episode of the Mr. Beacon podcast where I interviewed ChatGPT and had one of my team read out the answers, and I thought it was a pretty good guest. It did a good job. It even chose music. It even chose, part of my podcast is, what are the 3 songs that have some meaning to you and why? And it did a good job of answering that question.
Brings me on to a question which I think is related to the last one, which is, what piece of technology from a science fiction film or movie would you wish existed today, and how would you use it?
I grew up on science fiction, loved it. Star Wars. I actually was over in the States visiting. I have a side of my family that is American, so I saw Star Wars without any expectations, which was such a gift. But the thing that really intoxicated me was Star Trek. And you stole my idea, Ian, which was the kind of the transporter beaming me down. So I'm going to go beam me up, beam me down. Both are good. So I'm going to go for the Enterprise itself and the warp drives and that ability to create energy and travel very long distances. And I'm hoping that I get the ability to beam up and be down for free as that kind of thing that's added onto it.
So then this is a question where Ian and I very much differ. But again, with warp drive and traveling through space, if we could be taken to Mars and we were actually going to colonize it, would you sign up and go to Mars?
I mean, the one-way ticket thing, absolutely not. No, I love this planet. I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. I'm fortunate having worked in the same industry as you. People pay us to travel around it. And so we kind of get this leg up in exploring it. And it just fascinates me. And I would love to go up into space. I'm one of these people that's put a deposit down on one
SpaceX?
of these. It's not actually SpaceX. I think it's a scam, but it's basically you go up in a balloon and you can go up into near space. Seems a bit more affordable and a bit more environmentally sustainable than the
rocket travel,
than the rockets. But I think the whole idea of let's evacuate the planet because we've trashed it is just ludicrous. And I think we should be focusing on fixing the damage that we've done. And I think it's doable. So I'm not for heading off to Mars and trying again, because I think the problems we have are all centered around human nature. And that's going to be the same on Mars or as it is here on Earth. Yeah.
And obviously, warp drive and beam me up and beam me down is fake technology, but we have made incredible advances over the 21st century in technology. Is there one piece of real tech that you think is the most significant advancement in that history?
Well, this is going to sound very self-serving, and it's really the subject of our other podcast. But I believe that ambient Internet of Things is really profound in its opportunity to solve some major problems. That essentially, if the cost of connectivity goes down from thousands to hundreds to a few pennies, single-digit pennies, and you can start to put medicine, clothing, furniture, all the significant things online, and then you apply the power of AI to that information, then we can very quickly massively cut the carbon in our supply chains. If we can tell if people are taking their medicine by having pill bottles, pill vials online, we have these incredible pills, vaccines, medicines. One of the biggest issues is knowing whether people are taking them. One of the projects that Wiliot worked on was for Pfizer back in the day when COVID was, we didn't know, there was before the vaccine had been developed, but we integrated a Bluetooth tag into the vaccine vial that could measure the temperature and tell whether the vaccine had been diluted. And because the FDA didn't know that was possible, they didn't have to deploy that technology. But I wonder how many people have been injected with vaccine that's been kept at room temperature for 30 minutes too long and doesn't work. So I think, we could make huge strides forward in the NHS, the National Health Service over in the UK, our health system here. If we knew where all of the consumables were, we could buy maybe half of what we're buying and still have products and medicine assets available, and just, apply all of the visibility, this sort of omniscient visibility that the cloud and AI gives us, but to the physical world. So I'm super optimistic about that. And one of the reasons why I still work at Wiliot is because of the opportunity to see that come into being and do it with the telecoms industry, which is the most powerful organization that you can imagine. Everyone has a phone. The phone companies are incredibly wealthy. They have kind of an annuity of $50 a month from most adults on the planet. And so there's a real opportunity for this technology to help make things more sustainable, circular, effective, reduce crime. There's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, I'm really excited about where it's going at that edge as well, and very much so about what Wiliot is being able to enable, but it's exciting, and I like that answer. You might as well champion what you're doing, right?
So just on that then, do you feel beyond Wiliot, is there another sort of innovation that you see coming along which you're excited about, to create a greener planet, observing as a passenger on this spaceship Earth?
Well, it's a lot less futuristic, but I think the power of solar and batteries is incredible. And I am really heartened by the speed with which the cost of both are going down. I think what's happening with the EU Digital Product Passport, with giving batteries a digital identity and the opportunity to make them more recyclable and sustainable. And I bought solar over a decade ago. I live in California, so it's an easy decision to make. But I've been driving around without paying for gasoline for years now. Okay. And I have battery storage, so when the grid goes down, which it tends to, everything's okay. So I recognize that I'm not typical. I am privileged, but I think that the price is going down so fast that we won't have to require people to be liberal or virtuous. It will just be the cheapest way of paying your bill. And I think, if we can cut the carbon in transport and energy, is a huge part of it. So that's something that I think also really inspiring.
Very good. I'd like to throw in one sort of fun question, because I think we have to close on this section pretty soon. Desert island discs. So that's where one of the questions comes from. And you're now going to be moved to a desert island. What is the one luxury that you would take with you?
I was wondering about this, and I'm not sure it's a luxury. Is a satellite link a luxury with solar panels and a tablet? Because, it's like my little survival kit. I've got it packed up, ready to go. It's easy.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think it's a pretty good one. I mean, those people who've interviewed, radio's done quite well. So this idea of being able to communicate away from the island seems quite popular. And do you imagine this dish or whatever would have some sort of, again, it would have solar, right? So it would be self-sufficient in that sense.
Yeah, I can figure out how the best techniques for distilling water that doesn't kill me, and how to.
And what would you watch with it? What would you do with it? Let's say you had that. What was the first thing you'd do? What would you try and do?
Well, I'd be asking ChatGPT lots of questions about the best way to build a shelter and a really comfy bed. Pillow manufacturing techniques springs to mind. One of the things that I have really has been an epiphany for me is the value of sleep. Okay. In my kind of more intense period of work, there was a lot going on at home, challenging kids and all that sort of stuff. And I was feeling really depressed. I tried medication. It really didn't work very well. And then I realized I'm going to bed at 2:00 in the morning. I'm getting 4 hours of sleep. Why not try 8 hours? And it's amazing. Yeah. Okay. So I find that to be very effective. And so sleep, I recommend it to people that haven't tried it.
Yeah, well, and I completely agree with you. It's like in our industry, especially, right? It's underpinning so many other industries. There is connectivity has created this demand to be instant responding and on 24/7. And we've just seen such a growth of this depression from the overload at work. And you're in California. Is there something else aside from sleep, which we should all do, that really you do in your off time to relax?
Well, I have started to cycle to work. I read this book by a British chap called Mike Berners-Lee. He's professor of climate science at Lancaster University. And there's actually two books of his that I recommend. One is How Bad's a Banana? The carbon footprint of everything. Okay. So are bananas good or bad? Who knows? But it turns out they're good because the packaging's built in. But it's everything from the Iraq War to whether you should be using towels or a dryer, the hand dryer. He opines on, and he's actually the younger brother of Sir Tim, Berners-Lee, who invented HTML and the World Wide Web browser. So he's
Clever
comes from a high-achieving family. But he's written these books, and one of his other book, which I highly recommend, is There Is No Planet B. And he talks about what's the most sustainable way of traveling. And it turns out an electric bike is even better than a push bike, a pedal bike. And so I started doing that. And so I get half an hour of meditation on the way to work and on the way back from work. And I've lost 40 pounds. And it makes me feel cheerful and creative.
You found yourself, it seems like. Great.
I have, thanks to Mike Berners-Lee, who I have the privilege of working with. I basically found his book thanks to a colleague, got in contact with him, and I wasn't expecting him to return my email, but he did. And now I'm basically picking his brains on real-time carbon footprinting, which is one of the things that you can do with this ambient IoT technology. But even if you don't believe in ambient IoT, buy his books, read them. It's fascinating. And he has his own philosophy for life that is very gently sprinkled in there, along with some amazing facts and a very informed perspective on climate.
So do you expect to have him on your podcast?
I'm hoping to. That's actually one of the first things that I asked him, and I'm really looking forward to the day when he will agree to come on my podcast.
That'd be great.
We're just trying to see, for those of us in the industry, are you Apple or Android?
This is really difficult because I love both. I think they're both amazing technologies. If you were to go to my house, you'd say I'm an Apple person because I have like Apple everything. One of my colleagues used to joke that if they made bricks, I would have a house built out of Apple bricks. But, I love that integrated design, the user-centered concept, the aesthetics, really important to me. I feel like it's a little superficial. I don't like the kind of the closeness of that ecosystem. But I love Android. One of my most technical jobs was writing operating system code, device drivers, and that sort of thing. And I love the fact that there's actually a Unix prompt at the base of the Android operating system. So you've got all these widgets, but if you delve deeply enough, you can type on a command line interface. And I love that aspect of the ability to customize and innovate and the openness of Android. But if you look at what I buy, I have an iPhone 15 and I've even got the Apple Vision Pro.
Really?
Which looks ridiculous, but it's the most incredible thing. You put it on and you're like standing in the goal with the goalie at a match, and it's just breathtaking technology.
But this is a whole other podcast if you leave it up to me, right? This is one question right here. But, just about, so the look, we can't even begin to talk about, but how heavy does it get? Like, how long can you actually remain in it before, like, your ears and your face is like, let me out?
I can get through a Star Wars movie and still feel comfortable. And I can see it in 3D, which is just amazing. I was very skeptical about the 3D, glasses, and when they were trying to get us to buy the 3D TVs. But the ability to there's one of the experiential aspects is you can go up above this canyon with this lady that does tightrope walking as a form of meditation, and you're out there and you're just so
unnerved.
I mean, if you have vertigo, be careful.
You'll have it, right? But just one comment is you're wearing glasses. How does it work with the glasses then?
Oh, well, you basically give them your prescription and they will craft some inserts that will work. But I just had cataract surgery, so I actually threw away one of the inserts, and I just feel like I got a 4K HD TV upgrade in my left eyeball. So I now only have one insert on the right side because I had my lens removed and replaced by an incredible surgeon.
Another form of a technological advancement that just is enhancing our lives. It's really incredible what it really is.
It's amazing.
Truly.
I was at an art gallery. If you're ever in San Diego, there's a beautiful contemporary art museum in La Jolla. And I was like seeing these paintings again. I could suddenly see the brushstrokes and the detail that I'd never seen before. It's like whenever I'm sick or something bad like that happens to me, I always look forward to that euphoric feeling you get when you get your capacity back and getting your sight back is just an incredible thing. Something to look forward to as we get older.
Well, Steve, it's been a real pleasure to speak to you and learn more about you and where you've come from and how you got into the business, and also this amazing project with Wiliot that you're pursuing. And we're looking forward to seeing in the second episode to hear more about that. But for those listeners, those people want to hear more about Steve and his own podcast, it's the Mr. Beacon Ambient IoT podcast. So please do listen to it. It is very interesting, and I've already learned a lot from it. And it's an area which has got a lot of potential for the world as well. So with that having said, thank you, Steve.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Frankie.
Yeah, really lovely. And for those of you guys listening, both of these podcasts are available on Apple and Spotify, so you can find us anywhere. Thank you guys for joining us today. And Ian, Steve, thanks for being part of this.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to our new podcast. If you have any feedback or know of any stories to be told involving digital technology and telecoms doing good, then please do let us know via our email, getinTouch@digiteltalk.com. Also, feel free to send us a message on LinkedIn. It'd be great to hear from you.
Before we go, if you've enjoyed today's episode and would like to support the podcast, then don't forget to give us a follow and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Also, if you'd like to leave us a review or share it with your colleagues, it really helps us on the channel. Thanks so much for being a part of our audience today, and hopefully you'll join us next time.
That's all we've got time for, so it's goodbye from me.
And that's goodbye from him.
Bye
for now.
now.